It's the question of the week.
So the question of the week, all three of us have been around panels, been around cons, and I thought, what's a fun question that would come from that world? And it could be the weirdest, it could be the funniest. I phrase it as, what's the dumbest question you've ever heard on a panel? But just, it could be something that stood out to you, I guess. Because none of us are really those guys that want to make fun of something, but sometimes there are really some I'm sorry, what question? What are you talking about out there?
I've been there was a 1 year where they had a bunch of voice actors at Dragon Con, and there were a couple of those panels that I went to when someone got up and they asked a person about a specific role, and they got the actor messed up.
Oh no.
I was just like, oh, you didn't but they did.
Oh
no, that's rough. It's funny because we were chatting before the show, and you said, we were going to talk about these kind of questions, and I have a dual answer for that, and one of them is just always the generic question of like, how do you get into that? I'm like, that's a loaded question, man. Like, 4 years of education and training and networking and all these things. And this is for any profession, because I'll be on voiceover panels and video game panels. And that's a really, really tough one. But I really, really like when I get the questions of like asking about a very specific methodology. So it's, hey, I noticed like I watched this anime and someone does this scream. Can you have any tips on like how to do a really good scream? And you can tell if someone's like technically interested and has some knowledge besides Googling, I want to be a voice actor. Let's say. and I really like those questions. Like those are cool, because that means someone has an interest that's just beyond surface level. And I always appreciate that kind of question.
Yeah, I get that. Mine's similar for a dumb question. It's panels like about podcasting or those kind of things. Somebody always goes, how do I get started? It's such, like you said, why? It's just too wide of a question, but that's not the question that really gets me. Now that I've always, for the longest time, I tried to be the anti-gatekeeper, right? I'm the cheerleader. I'm like, here's how you help here. But after like the 500th time of seeing this dumb question, I just hit people. It's like, stop asking it, which is, well, what do I talk about? Get out of here. Get out of here. If you don't even think of podcasts, if you don't even know what you want to talk about, that's the dumbest thing. It's like going to an Instagram influencer, like, well, what do I influence? I'm sorry. Did you ask your mama how to breathe today? Because you're really hitting my hot buttons right now. How do I get on the panel is my favorite question. That is actually a standard question that comes along a bit, which is, it is that, and I say every time, use our Discord. If it's specifically for Dragon Con, use our link tree. We're on the Wise Nerdy brand, so I can't find it. But don't worry about it. But yeah, go to our link tree and join our Discord. And I have a spiel for that, because that is understandable, because I think that kind of goes into like the greatest hits, right? When you go see your band or some of your favorite people that do something that aren't like jokes. Like jokes, you can't really have greatest hits. You've got to keep fresh ones. But it is okay. I might have answered that 5,000 times, but this might legit be your first time of thinking about going to a con or as a creator, I have somebody here, I'd like to get on these panels type of deal. So I just understand it's a greatest hits question. It is just, this might be the first time you've heard it. So let me just give you a tight spiel, and then I can expound on that if needed.
Yeah. I think we should have like an FAQ for new content creators on the
FAQ too. What?
On the digital media track link tree. So like every year people come to Dragon Con or to the digital media track, and they're like, what equipment should I get? And that's something that we could definitely just list out equipment recommendations. Granted, they change, or list out like a channel that says, hey, we know that this channel provides great recommendations.
I would say,
from a director standpoint, you're wrong. One, you always use that question. That's the best question ever, because it keeps bodies coming to the panel, so we get the head count, so we keep doing that panel. But also, hey, we have our own channel. Go to our Discord. We have a room where there's professionals who will ask you questions and talk to you.
Yeah,
And
like
now we build our
what's your
community.
budget? What's your studio look like? Is it an actual studio? Like, I don't have very much sound dampening behind me, but if you look at Sean's background, there's a whole bunch of acoustic foam behind him.
I can scream and there's no echo. It's great. Oh, we can also see my nice microphone in the shot there. Yes.
Oh, a shotgun mic. Nice.
Oh, yes. It's the Sennheiser HK16.
Ooh, fancy.
It's a starter mic. He'll get better. Don't worry about it.
Man, I got it used and it was expensive. Holy crap.
But that is the other thing too, Joe. When you do this panels, they're going to ask what gear, what this, a lot of the same greatest hits questions. But again, that's your opportunity to change a life because you're helping them and you're giving them an answer. Whereas an FAQ is we don't care. Now for that specific question, we don't care. And then the information gets outdated, those kind of things. But with those questions, we're moving bodies through. My question of how to get on a panel, that could be an FAQ. It's like, how do I get on a panel? Click this link and then
get in the Discord.
Get in the Discord. Off of that though. Okay, so Sean, you do a number of cons every year. We're talking about that a little bit in the Patreon beforehand.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you do different aspects, not just panels, but you go and represent a brand. You sit at a booth. What's the one thing that you're like, this question's coming, let's get the bingo card out?
Oh man. So depending on the role, but I think one of the most common questions, besides how do you get into the business, what's your favorite XYZ, like favorite character, favorite role, favorite game. One of the most sad ones that I get recently, having to like pushing more.
Where's my mummy?
Depending on the setting, I have two different answers.
I hope one of those answers, I don't know, you kid, go away.
However, I'm not your dad, so I don't know. But I think probably the saddest one I get now recently is like doing more voiceover. Is, do I know you from anything? And it's like, no, you probably don't. And then something go, no, I get a lot of work, but unless you call Pillow Windows of North Carolina, I'm not going to hear my voice.
I like this, Joe. Digital media track bingo cards. Hand them out at the kickoff panel. That is not a bad idea. Now, the question that we'll need to get into off show is, do we do new ones for every panel? Because you could do one just for a panel I'm on of what Charles always says. We find this word, that word, those kind of things. But I think that'd be fun. And
so we could do that, or we could do bingo cards where go to a panel with this person on it, like different people who are regulars for those, and they have to sign the square.
I like it. And then we charge those panelists $5 to have their name on the card. And that's how we pay for the track this year.
It's not enough that I bribe you with booze every year?
Every year, though. I remember 2020 being a dry year, sir.
Well, some things happened in 2020.
Well, you can blame your wife on that one. She was in charge of the beverages.
Foggy. Yeah.